I'm pretty sure most of you guys remember the Top Gear game from 1992 that appeared on the SNES console back in the 16-bit era. Well, not everyone, probably a handful of gamers probably remember that game. In fact, that game was just as memorable as Rock and Roll Racing, which also came out for the SNES. I believe that was towards the mid 90s. It may have been in 1995. I could be wrong. It was probably another year. But as far as whether or not Top Gear deserves another, or I guess a 3D remake, that's something that I don't see happening. I don't think there's a lot of interest in making that happening because even though Top Gear was a fun classic for the SNES, the game was very basic, and yeah, it had nice visuals, and I guess the soundtrack was pretty cool, especially for the first stage. It was probably one of the best first stage theme songs I've ever heard in any game, period. But I don't know, seeing a 2D remastered version of this game, I think the time has passed because you look at the company that developed Top Gear for the SNES, Gremlin Graphics, they basically became defunct back in 2003. So the possibility of a remake for the original Top Gear game becoming a reality would be through a Kickstarter campaign if there's enough interest among gamers to make it happen, but that seems unlikely at the time, and it probably never will happen. Besides, there are more memorable games from the 90s, such as Super Mario Kart from 92, Mario Kart 64. I believe that came out in 97, somewhere sometime in the mid 90s. You had Ridge Racer and you had Gran Turismo. And there's no mistake that since the 90s, the racing genre has evolved a hell of a lot since, Top Gear from 92. In fact, you look at the 2000s was like the golden era of the racing genre of gaming because you had Gran Turismo 3, you had Gran Turismo 4, you had games like Race Driver Grid, you had games such as I believe the Forza series also got started in the 2000s as well. So you had a whole slew of racing games that came out in the 2000s. Most of them were realistic and they had challenging AI, a lot of stages, a lot of cars to choose from. And those games seem like they were untouchable and they seem like they came out in an era where the racing genre was very popular. So as far as Top Gear is concerned, I know Top Gear is has been around for a long time, like the television series. It began in the late 70s and it got popular enough to a point where it got its own game based off of the television series, and that's cool and all. But as far as the game itself is concerned, it didn't really sell as much as people thought it would have, and it's a game that I feel like it's good for casual gamers who are just into racing in general. As far as being for those who are like really into in-depth racing. I would say a game like Monaco GP, which came out back in well, it came out in the early 90s for Sega. I can't remember exactly which year, but that games like that are more indefinite for more hardcore racers. Top Gear seems like it's very basic, and as far as it having a 2D remake, um, I guess there's some people who wouldn't mind seeing it, but I don't really see it happening. As far as it having a 3D remake is concerned, I don't see that happening, but I think in theory it would be pretty cool to see that.